Dorothy, the yellow brick road, wicked witches, and a mysterious wizard hidden behind a curtain. We've all grown up with the Wizard of Oz, but what if I told you the version you know is only the polished surface? Beneath the glittering Emerald City lies a story rooted in political intrigue, economic struggle, and unsettling truths about human nature. The magical world of Oz might look like a cheerful children's fantasy, but peel back the layers and you'll find a world that mirrors real-life power games, a place where manipulation, fear, and illusion are as important as magic. And here's the twist: it's not just metaphor. Much of Oz's creation was shaped by real events, real struggles, and even real people. Let's start with the man who imagined it all, L. Frank Baum. Before Oz became a phenomenon, Baum's life was anything but a fairy tale. He tried his hand at running a general store. It failed. He published a small-town newspaper. It folded. He worked as a traveling salesman, but the road wore him down. By the late 1890s, he was searching desperately for an idea that would stick. In 1899, instead of chasing another doomed business venture, Baum tapped into his creativity, blending his observations about society with his storytelling talent. What he produced would go on to become one of the most enduring works of American literature. But that fantasy was anything but random. It was packed with coded commentary on the world around him. Take the scarecrow, for example. In the 1890s, scarecrows weren't just farm decorations, they were a political symbol. Farmers, especially those struggling during the economic downturn of the time, were mocked in political cartoons as brainless, unable to understand their own best interests. Powerful bankers and politicians often portrayed rural Americans as naive pawns in a much bigger game. In the story, the scarecrow believes he's unintelligent. He spends the entire journey convinced that his lack of brains makes him unworthy. But here's the deeper layer. His lack of brains isn't self-made. It's been drilled into him by others who benefit from his self-doubt. This mirrors how, in real life, those in power often work to convince ordinary people they're incapable of making decisions for themselves. Now let's talk about the Tin Man. Industrial America in the late 19th century was booming, but not for the workers. Endless hours, dangerous conditions, and low pay turned human beings into replaceable machine parts. To many historians, the Tin Man represents the working class stripped of humanity, reduced to nothing more than a cog in the industrial machine. But the Tin Man's backstory is even more chilling. In the original tale, he was once a man named Nick Chopper. A curse caused his axe to turn against him, severing his limbs one by one. Each time, a tinsmith replaced the missing part until there was nothing human left, only cold metal. And with the last transformation, he lost his heart. This curse wasn't just a plot device, it was symbolic. It speaks to how people can lose their compassion, their emotional depth, without even realizing it, piece by piece. Whether through overwork, exploitation, or emotional manipulation, the transformation from human to machine can be so gradual that the victim doesn't even notice. Then there's the cowardly lion. Popular interpretation suggests he represents politician William Jennings Bryan, a powerful orator known for his fiery speeches in favor of the working class. Bryan roared loudly against corruption, but was accused by critics of failing to act decisively when it counted. Like the lion, he was all roar, no bite. This makes the lion a perfect symbol for leaders who appear strong but are ruled by fear. They command through bluster and showmanship, yet behind the facade, they're often the most insecure of all. It's a reminder that appearances of power can be very different from reality. By the time you finish this journey into Oz, you'll see the yellow brick road not as a magical path, but as a carefully laid trap. You'll meet witches whose power is as much about perception as magic. and you'll realize that the man behind the curtain may be the most dangerous character of all. When you picture the Wicked Witch of the West, you probably see green skin, a pointed hat, and that infamous cackle. But here's the truth. None of that came from L. Frank Baum's original story. The Hollywood witch we know today was born in the 1939 movie, not in Baum's pages. In the book, the Wicked Witch is not a green-skinned caricature. She's a powerful sorceress with one magical eye and an army of enslaved creatures under her control. Her rule over the land of the Winkies isn't by charm, it's by fear, and that detail changes how we see her entirely. Some historians suggest that Baum's choice to place this witch in the West wasn't random. At the time, the American West was still seen as a wild, dangerous place. Law was scarce, survival meant self-reliance, and control often came through intimidation rather than cooperation. In that sense, the Wicked Witch could be seen as the embodiment of ruthless frontier power. But Dorothy's arrival is not just a chance meeting, it's a threat. Her house lands on the witch's sister, killing her instantly. Then Dorothy takes the one thing her sister valued most, her magical shoes. From the witch's perspective, this isn't a fairy tale visitor, it's an invasion. This reframing is important because it strips away the idea of pure good and pure evil. The witch isn't misunderstood, she's genuinely tyrannical, but her motives aren't random. She's clinging to her last chance at power, having already exhausted her control over the flying monkeys through the magic of the golden cap. And that brings us to the man behind the curtain, the wizard himself. On the surface, he's the ultimate magical ruler. But as Dorothy and her companions eventually discover, he's no wizard at all. He's just a man with machinery, smoke, and lights, projecting an image of power. The wizard is a perfect allegory for political leaders who rule not through true ability, but through spectacle. Pull back the curtain and you find nothing impressive. The power was never real, it was perception all along. Baum understood this kind of illusion intimately. Before becoming a novelist, he worked as a department store window dresser. His job was to create elaborate displays that made ordinary items look luxurious and rare. The principle was simple. If people believe something has value, they will act as though it does. In that sense, the wizard's entire kingdom is a sales pitch. He controls minds not with magic, but with presentation, fog machines, amplified voices, grand entrances. It's a trick that works until someone dares to question it. And when Dorothy exposes him, his power doesn't just disappear, it collapses instantly. His control depended entirely on no one pulling back the curtain. This mirrors how, in real life, the downfall of many powerful figures isn't a loss of skill, it's the loss of the illusion. But the wizard's illusions don't end with his own image. He's also responsible for one of the most deceptive settings in Oz, the Emerald City. On arrival, visitors are told to wear green-tinted glasses for their own protection. In reality, the city isn't made of emeralds at all, it's ordinary. The glasses simply make it appear rich and dazzling. The symbolism here is striking. Whether you see the Emerald City as a stand-in for Washington, D.C., or for wealth-driven society in general, the message is clear. If you can control how people see the world, you can control how they live in it. The glasses only work if no one dares to take them off. And that's the thread running through all of Oz's darker truths. Control through illusion, whether it's a green city, a fake wizard, or a fearsome witch. In Oz, the most dangerous weapon isn't magic, it's belief. One of the most memorable moments in The Wizard of Oz is the poppy field, a breathtaking stretch of bright red flowers that causes Dorothy, Toto, and their friends to fall into a deep sleep. In the film, it's a whimsical obstacle. In Baum's book, it's something far darker. At the time Baum wrote The Wizard of Oz in 1900, the world was grappling with a major public health crisis, widespread addiction to opium-based medicines. These drugs were sold over the counter, often even used in children's cough syrup. The poppies in Oz are more than flowers. They're a metaphor for a dangerous escape from reality. The field symbolizes the seductive trap of comfort. It's warm, safe, and beautiful. But if you stay too long, you lose your sense of purpose. In the real world, comfort without challenge can be just as dangerous as the witch's magic. It can keep you from reaching your goals. Next, let's step onto the yellow brick road, perhaps the most iconic path in literature. At first glance, it's a symbol of hope and direction. But why yellow? Many historians believe it's a nod to the gold standard debate raging in the 1890s, whether U.S. currency should be backed by gold alone or by both gold and silver. Gold was seen as favoring the wealthy elite, while silver was believed to support the working class. And here's where the symbolism gets interesting. Dorothy wears silver shoes while walking a golden road. It's as if Baum is quietly walking us through a national economic argument without ever naming it outright. But the road also has a more sinister meaning. Dorothy doesn't choose where it leads, she's told to follow it. It's a path laid down by others, guiding her towards someone else's destination. That's the trap. A journey that looks like freedom, but is actually a form of control. The yellow brick road ends not in prosperity, but in the wizard's chamber, a room filled with smoke and lies. It's a reminder that even the most promising path can lead to disappointment if you never question where it's taking you. And what about the Munchkins? In the film, they're bright, cheerful, and instantly ready to celebrate their newfound freedom after the Wicked Witch of the East is defeated. But in Baum's original book, they're not so quick to cheer. These Munchkins are ordinary townsfolk, farmers, workers, people who have spent years under tyranny. Their fear doesn't vanish overnight. They're cautious, hesitant, and unsure of what to do next. It's a realistic depiction of how people react after the fall of a dictator. Even more revealing is what happens after the witch is gone. The Munchkins don't leave their land or seek new opportunities. They stay right where they are. They believe they're free, but they remain within the boundaries they've always known. This is the illusion of freedom. You can remove the tyrant, but if the mindset of fear and limitation remains, the people are still trapped. Real change doesn't come from outside. It comes when people choose to step beyond the boundaries set for them. Through the poppies, the yellow brick road, and the Munchkins' hesitant freedom, Baum weaves a warning. Danger doesn't always come with a broomstick or a crown. Sometimes it comes disguised as comfort, as guidance, or as a life you never think to question. When you think of Glinda the Good Witch, you might picture a radiant figure floating in on a bubble, ready to guide Dorothy from the start. But in Baum's original book, Glinda is nothing like that. She doesn't appear early, and she certainly doesn't hover over Dorothy's every step. In the novel, Glinda is the Good Witch of the South, not the North. Dorothy doesn't meet her until the end of her journey, after the Wicked Witch of the West has been defeated. Glinda is calm, wise, and powerful, but she does not hand Dorothy the answers outright. Instead, she reveals a truth Dorothy has carried the whole time. The silver shoes on her feet have the power to take her home. Glinda could have told her from the start, but she chose not to. Why? Because the journey itself was essential. This is more than a plot twist. It's a lesson in leadership. The best mentors don't always give you shortcuts. They let you face challenges, make decisions, and grow strong enough to solve your own problems. Glinda's patience is what makes her guidance meaningful. But Dorothy herself is more than just a heroine in a children's book. Her name was inspired by a very real and tragic figure in L. Frank Baum's life. His infant niece, Dorothy Louise Gage. Born in 1898, she died of illness just 5 months later, a loss that devastated Baum's family. By naming his protagonist after her, Baum gave the fictional Dorothy a symbolic journey, a way of giving life and hope to a name tied to grief. Every step down the yellow brick road, every challenge overcome, becomes a tribute to lost innocence and the enduring desire to find one's way home. But some believe Baum drew Dorothy's personality from another source, his formidable mother-in-law, Matilda Jocelyn Gage. Matilda was a well-known suffragist, abolitionist, and author who fought tirelessly for women's rights. She was outspoken, intelligent, and unafraid to challenge authority. This influence is visible in Dorothy's character. Unlike the companions she travels with, Dorothy never doubts her own courage, intelligence, or compassion. She may face fear and danger, but she doesn't need someone else to tell her she's capable. She knows it. That's an unusual trait for female characters of the time. In an era when many heroines were passive or dependent, Dorothy is proactive. She leads, makes decisions, and confronts challenges head-on. In that way, she quietly breaks from the norms of early 20th century literature. Dorothy's journey also fits the structure of the hero's journey, a timeless storytelling pattern where the protagonist seeks something they believe is external, only to discover it was within them all along. For Dorothy, that realization comes with the click of her heels and the words, "There's no place like home." But home here is more than Kansas. It's the understanding that we already have the tools to change our own lives. We just need to see them. The magic shoes don't give Dorothy her power. They reveal the power she's had from the very beginning. Through Dorothy, Baum gave us a hero who doesn't seek glory, control, or wealth. She just wants to go home. And when she does, she's no longer the same girl who left. She's stronger, wiser, and fully aware of her own capabilities. By now, the land of Oz doesn't look quite the same. It's no longer just a place of colorful roads, magical creatures, and a quest for home. It's a layered world filled with hidden warnings about power, perception, and the choices we make. The Wicked Witch shows us how fear can be used as a tool for control. The Wizard teaches us that image can be more influential than reality. The Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion remind us that self-doubt often comes from outside voices, not from truth. The Emerald City reveals how entire societies can be tricked into believing in wealth or greatness through nothing more than presentation. And the Yellow Brick Road warns us that blindly following someone else's path can lead to disappointment instead of fulfillment. Even the poppy fields are a lesson. They show that distractions, no matter how pleasant, can quietly pull us away from our goals. Comfort isn't bad, but when it becomes a trap, it's just another form of control. And the Munchkins? They're a reminder that liberation isn't just about removing a leader. It's about changing the way we think. Without that shift, we can remain stuck in the same patterns, even when the chains are gone. Through all of this, Dorothy stands at the center, not as a helpless girl swept along by fate, but as a quiet leader. She doesn't wait for someone to hand her a solution. She takes action, faces danger, and ultimately discovers that the power she was seeking was hers all along. That's why the Wizard of Oz endures. Beneath the fantasy, it speaks to something real. The struggle to see past illusions, to claim our own agency, and to find our way through a world full of people who would prefer we stayed asleep in the poppy fields. Oz is more than a story, it's a mirror. It reflects the systems we live under, the leaders we follow, and the myths we accept without question. It challenges us to ask, who's really behind the curtain in our own lives? And what happens when we dare to pull it back? L. Frank Baum may have written a children's tale, but he hid in it a map of human nature, its strengths, its weaknesses, and its hunger for both freedom and comfort. That's what makes Oz feel timeless. it's not just a fantasy, it's a coded history lesson. So, the next time you think about the yellow brick road, the Emerald City, or the man behind the curtain, remember, the real magic isn't in the story. It's in the way it makes us see our own world differently. And that's the dark truth behind The Wizard of Oz. It's not the story you were told, it's a story about power, perception, and the courage to take control of your own journey. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden layers of Oz, make sure to subscribe to The Silent Lodge. We explore the stories beneath the stories, the histories behind the myths, and the truths that others overlook. And if you found this fascinating, hit the like button. It really helps us keep bringing you more mysteries worth exploring.